recently had a great hunt where I harvested a buck we call Stretch. And you can check out that hunt at the link in our description. Today, I want to share some of the many lessons we learned from chasing the buck we named Stretch. We noticed Stretch last year as he was very active in front of a couple of our multi-mobile cameras. He looked like a great up-and-coming buck, so we decided to give him a pass and see what he looked like this coming year. It's always exciting when a buck you passed on purpose shows up the following summer, and that's the feeling we had when we saw Stretch this past summer. He had survived the season, made it through this winter and spring, and was off to a good start during the summer of 2024. During the preseason and early season, Stretch was active in a couple of known travel corridors here at the proving grounds, particularly one which is on the southern portion of the property, an old vacant field and some different timber areas coming together where we'd cut a lot of cedars. So there's native vegetation, a couple of hidey-hole food plots, and a lot of cover pinching down to a small area. That area looked so good that Daniel took some time and hung a new stand, a new set for our hunting season this year.
It's all about bottlenecks, folks, and finding those limited resources, those travel corridors, this edge. Right up here's a little hidey-hole food plot. We've shared several hunts from this location, and during those hunts, we've noticed that several times mature bucks have come up out of this big bedding area where we've felled eastern red cedars, and they come straight across here and wrap around this corner and this edge. So knowing that scouting based on the Moultrie Mobile and our past hunts from the redneck, we're moving in. Got the steel out, some stands here. We're getting ready to hang a stand right up in this tree.
I opted to hunt that new set on the afternoon of October 15th. When we picked up a deer coming behind us, could barely see it through a cedar. I know you're going, there's another cedar tree alive there. Yeah, we haven't got to them all yet. It stepped out and it was Stretch. When he got out there, perfect, about 20 yards, I come to draw, and my fault, I hadn't checked this out ahead of time. I could get the full draw, but only with my arm crooked. Of course, I shoot straight. I want a straight line from my elbow right through the arrow to my bow hand, and I was gonna shoot like this. 20 yards, I'd have probably made the shot, but I passed it up because I wasn't sure with this much different form where that arrow would hit. You watch that video, man, I'm squirming. I tried setting down, standing up. I wanted to take the shot, but it just wasn't working out. The only thing worse than passing up a shot is knowing you wounded one. Of course, October 15th, pre-rut starting to heat up. Bucks are checking out that dominance, fighting, setting that hierarchy in the area. And it's a real exciting time. More exciting for us sometimes than the bucks, because just a couple of days later, on the next ridge to the north, there's a little pond on top, and I like to hunt there frequently, especially during the pre-rut and rut, because those bucks are traveling a lot, breathing hard, and they got to replace that moisture they're losing while they're breathing with consuming water. We had a Moultrie camera at that pond, and Stretch showed up there, but we could tell he'd been in a fight most likely because he'd lost one of his eyes. He was clearly blind in one eye. During this same time, it had been a wicked drought for several weeks, a D3 level drought, if you know the drought index here in Missouri. Ponds were a big attraction. Wounds, of course, cause infection usually or high fever. Deer gonna go to water more, so it seemed like hunting that pond was a great chance to maybe pick up Stretch. And when a buck's wounded like that, you can't tell the extent of the wound from a video. You're always worried they may expire from that wound. So that morning early, we went up the mountain, got in a tree stand by Ridge Pond. Most of that hunt was pretty uneventful, but late morning it was so dry. I heard something coming through the leaves and through the branches. I could tell it was Stretch. The pond dam is just the opposite side of the pond from our stand. When you come over that dam, I could tell that eye looked bad. It was oozy, nasty, and I'm thinking, what a blessing I'm gonna be able to shoot that deer today. But Stretch, mature buck, did not present that shot. Stretch actually got in the pond just a little bit and consumed water for what seemed like a minute and a half. It was an amazing long time. Now, deer salivate about 2 gallons a day. You've seen cattle, they're always drooling. Ruminants are critters that take the food from the belly back up, chew it up more, and swallow it again. Those are ruminants. They have to have a lot of water for moving all that food around. But during the rut, they're respirating, and then it's wicked dry. All this added that bug just drank and drank and drank, and I'm sitting there ready to go to full draw. He come across the pond dam head on to us. And I'm thinking, well, he'll kind of take his time, stretch out, turn around and give me a good shot. Not that old rascal. Of course, he turned towards his good eye side. They're not going to turn towards the blind eye side. Turn towards the good eye side, just turned and kind of in one motion up on the dam, and he's gone. Oftentimes, at that time of year when something like that happens, I'm not panicking. I give a little grunt, or if it's more aggressive, a snort rees, then I'm going to swing back around, possibly give you another shot. So I gave that strategy a try. In the heat of the moment, I wasn't thinking. Stretch obviously just got whipped, man. He got gored in the eye, most likely. And the last thing he wanted to do was tangle with another buck. When I made those calls, he just kept on going. We waited a while. It was obvious Stretch wouldn't come back, so we slid down midday and come back early afternoon expecting some action. And we got a lot of action, but it wasn't Stretch off the bat. Squirrels, everything was coming to water. It's so dry. You can tell by looking, the pond is way down. I've never known that pond to go dry, but it was getting pretty low. Squirrels were coming in. I think I could have got my limit of squirrels easy. We didn't film them all. Young bucks coming in, worked the scrape right there, and right at dark, I heard another deer coming. Once again, it's Stretch, and he comes over that pond dam. I'm nervous because I've been burnt by the old in and out before. And this time, Stretch drinks again and leads toward his good eye and crosses back over the dam. That's 3 times Stretch has been in range, and here in mountain country, you rarely get 3 opportunities on a buck, and I'm feeling a lot of pressure, but I'm not doubting myself because in these 3 instances, I have not had a good opportunity to make a clean shot. The wind shifted, and it wasn't good to slide back in Ridge Pond the next morning, but it was much better conditions for that afternoon. I'm still wondering if Stretch is alive or not, because second time I saw Stretch, that eye's really boogered up, pussy, nasty. But we go back the next afternoon, get all set up. This time, Stretch come in early with plenty of shooting light, but once again, he comes in through the brush, using that good eye to keep himself guarded at all times. And it's hard to believe, after all these encounters, I still don't have a good shot. A lot of people think it's just hunting pressure that alerts deer. That's only true if they know you're there, if they sense you're there. We've been going in and coming out very quietly and always with the wind in our favor. And since Stretch doesn't know we're there, he's not alerted. We have not blown the sight or pushed Stretch out of the area. I think he's not leaving far. I think he's bedding close and coming to get water twice a day. I think he's injured and hurting and just not traveling far. I didn't see Stretch again for a little bit, but we're getting some Moultrie mobiles of him, and I could tell he's losing weight, but participating in the rut, pushing does, going around, working scrapes, and that made me think that Stretch had a better chance of surviving.
Growing Deer is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Also by Green Cover Food Plots, Winchester, PH Outdoors, Moultrie Mobile, Steel, Fleet Outdoor Apparel, Morel Targets, Fourth Arrow, Soil Pro Outdoors, Scorpion Venom Archery, Case IH Tractors, Burris Optics, G5 Broadheads, Prime Bows, and Redneck Hunting Blinds.
I've mentioned his injury several times, but the rut is really tough on deer, especially males. The cost of reproduction is high on males in a whitetail herd. Bucks lose up to 30% of their weight during the rut because they don't slow down and eat as much, about 20% less, research thinks, and they travel more. I call that the rut diet. move more, eat less, you're going to lose weight. So Stretch was certainly doing that. And just the drive to survive, that was a wicked injury. The drive to survive was amazing. I've got that skull with Pete right now and can't wait to get it back to see the extent of that injury, if it was just a flesh wound or if there was damage to the bones in his skull. Huge advantage of the Moultrie mobile system, which includes the app, is you can go back in time and learn. And when we were playing with Stretch and getting all our data from him, it's interesting that I tagged a buck this year on November 22nd. On November 21st last year, Stretch made a big loop in the area, almost exactly what he did this year when I harvested him. And that's real important to be able to study a buck's pattern last year, because oftentimes their pattern will be about the same even to the day the next year. It sounds like that can't be true, but we've seen that before, and my friend Mark Jury's talked about that also. Using that app and studying bucks that you're interested in this year, where they've been using past years to the day, can be a huge advantage for tagging a mature buck. Before I shot Stretch that morning, I shot a doe in the same food plot. Early on, there's plenty cold, she wasn't gonna spoil, and we filmed different bucks coming in to check out that doe from different directions, and they spent over an hour around that doe. The big food plot tombstone, the driveway to our office goes right beside it. It's an interior road, no public there. And I'd shot the doe and some team members started coming in, and one of them come in while one of the younger bucks was with that doe, just lifts his head up and looks at her, drives on by. Another vehicle comes in, another car there. They're not running off because I talk a lot, whatever deer are conditioned to, and we use that driveway oftentimes 6-7 days a week. Deer are totally used to cars driving by, of course never getting shot off of that, so totally conditioned that. Whatever deer are used to and they don't associate with danger is not a threat to them.
No, that's a patient buck.
You can use that to your advantage also. We get a question all the time, can we use UTVs on our property or not? We use UTVs here every day, checking traps, sky fire, taking seed to plant food plots, whatever. And so deer just pretty much ignore our UTVs, step off the road a little bit. But I would not want to do that if you're an absentee landowner or something, you're gone all summer, and the first day of season you drive over your property, you'd probably have alerted a lot of deer. So another lesson here, another buck on the property we call Squigs, at midnight before I harvested Stretch, was a mile away in another food plot. Where he went in that time, we don't know, but a mile straight line. Stretch was pushing a receptive doe. When I shot Stretch, I was able to make a good shot and drop him right there.
Wait a minute, can I kill that doe? That's another buck.
Stretch and Squigs were together chasing a receptive doe. The power of a receptive doe is so critical to attracting mature bucks. Squig stuck around 10 or 15 minutes looking at his competitor. There's a lot of personality and a lot of interaction to the rut, in addition to just bucks chasing does, and you can use that to your advantage using different hunting techniques like rattling, grunt calls, and the big importance we stress over and over of knowing about the property you're hunting and those travel corridors.
Come on, Smokey.
Yes! There was a lot of lessons, the ones I've shared and more from that hunt, and I always enjoy learning. Textbooks are one thing, boots on the ground and applying it's another. Learning these lessons about tagging mature bucks is important, but even more important than that is studying God's will and applying it to our lives. And I hope each of you make that a part of every day. Thanks for watching Growing Deer.